Consider the calmest person you have ever met. The one whose composure feels unshakable. In a heated argument, they are the steady voice. In chaos, the unmoving center. You've interpreted this as strength, as wisdom, as peace, but true peace resonates, it connects. What you are witnessing is something else entirely. It is a deliberate, cultivated stillness, a psychological climate that does not foster growth, but control. This calm is not the absence of emotion, it is the absence of your ability to read theirs. While you navigate the world through feeling and reaction, they are navigating you. Observing, calculating, mapping your impulses from behind a one-way mirror of their own design. We are drawn to this calm like moths to a steady flame, believing it to be safe light. We confess, we plead, we expose our insecurities, thinking we are in the presence of a sage or a rock. Only later do we feel a strange, hollow unease, a sense that we gave away more than we received, that we were not being understood, but filed away. This is the dark psychology of people who are too calm. It is not about anger or cruelty or obvious manipulation. It is about the quiet power of the void, the influence exerted through silence, the dominance established by never meeting your temperature. Over the next hour, we will dissect the machinery behind this stillness. You will learn how emotional equilibrium is weaponized, how boundaries are redrawn without a word, and how the ultimate power lies not in what is projected, but in what is eternally withheld. This is more than an analysis. It is a lens, and by the end, you will perceive the social landscape in a colder, clearer light. If you are ready to see what has always been operating just beneath the surface of the everyday, then listen closely. And if this exploration shifts your perspective, consider subscribing to stay with us as we uncover the hidden architectures of power. Your likes and shares bring these shadows into the light for others. And in the comments tell us, who in your life did you think of while listening? The recognition is often the first and most profound step. Chapter 1. The Stillness of the Predator. Consider the calmest person you know, not the relaxed one or the easygoing one. This is different. This is a stillness that seems to absorb sound, to dampen the emotional humidity in a room. They do not get flustered, they do not react. In a crisis, they are the steady hand. In a conflict, they are the unmoved center. You may admire this. You may find it wise, trustworthy, peaceful. This is a fundamental misinterpretation. True peace is a state of integration. It resonates. This other stillness is a state of extraction. It absorbs. It does not come from an absence of impulse, but from a strict internal veto against it. The emotional system is not disarmed, it is bypassed. The external calm is not a reflection of inner peace. It is a tactical decision. The machinery inside is not still. It is actively, quietly recording. This emotional stillness creates a profound asymmetry. It functions as a one-way mirror. All social interaction involves a mutual exchange of data, micro-expressions, shifts in tone, the subtle leakage of intention. For most, this is an open circuit. We broadcast. We receive, often without conscious thought. The unnaturally calm individual operates differently. Their own broadcast is minimal, a flat line of effect. Your signals, however, hit their surface and are captured. You receive little to no feedback, while they compile a comprehensive file. This grants them a distinct biological advantage in what we might call the social hunting grounds. In nature, a predator lowers its reactivity to avoid startling its prey, to better calculate the moment of movement. The principle here is not physical, but psychological. Lowered emotional reactivity prevents the emission of social scent. It allows for observation without triggering reciprocal observation. They see the tells, the brief flash of insecurity when you mention your success, the slight defensiveness in your posture when questioned, the way your eyes flicker when you lie to be kind. Your reactions are data points, their lack of reaction is a tool. This calm is therefore a cultivated disguise. It is not a personality trait, but a practiced discipline. Behind it lies a state of constant low-grade assessment. The mind is not at rest, it is categorizing. It is noting sources of leverage, weaknesses in arguments, unspoken desires, and hidden fears. The assessment is not always malicious in intent, but it is inherently predatory in function. It is the process of determining what something is for, how it can be influenced, navigated, or used. We instinctively misinterpret this calm. We see a lack of neediness and assume strength. We mistake the suppression of signal for the absence of noise. Our own psychology betrays us, dressing their emptiness in the qualities we would find admirable. Think of the colleague who, in a heated meeting, simply watches. They do not advocate or argue, they take notes. Later, their suggestions seem to align perfectly with what the powerful in the room wanted, but stated more clearly. They have not fought a battle. They have mapped the terrain and simply walked to the most advantageous position. Consider the partner who never raises their voice, never shows jealousy, never displays need. Your emotional outbursts seem to vanish into their composure, leaving you feeling hollow and somehow foolish. Your feelings become your problem, while their stability becomes a silent benchmark you cannot meet. You are performing your humanity for an audience that is not performing in return. This is not wisdom. Wisdom has warmth. It connects. This is observation divorced from empathy. It connects only to the understanding of connection itself, as a mechanism to be studied. You are left with a subtle, lingering unease. It is the feeling of having given more than you received, of having been seen without truly seeing in return. It is the suspicion that you were a subject in an experiment you did not consent to. Your instincts are trying to tell you what your rational mind dismisses, that not all stillness is serene. Some stillness is simply waiting, and you are left to wonder what, exactly, it has been observing all this time. Chapter 2. The Unspoken Hierarchy of Temperature. There is an unspoken rule in every human interaction. It is not about status or wealth or even intellect. It is about temperature. In any room between any two people, a silent negotiation of emotional climate occurs. One person radiates heat, frustration, enthusiasm, anxiety, need. The other remains cool, unmoving. It is in this moment that the hierarchy is established, not through argument, but through thermodynamics. Heat always moves toward cold. It is drawn out, dissipated, absorbed. The cooler entity dictates the final state of the system. This is the unspoken hierarchy. The person who controls their own temperature by design gains control of the frame. The frame is the context in which everything is interpreted. When one party remains unnaturally calm, they become the de facto author of that story. Your emotional volatility, your justified anger, your passionate plea, within their cool frame these become symptoms. They become evidence of your instability, your lack of control, your irrationality. You are performing the very proof they need to validate their own position. Without a word, they have made you the subject of the discussion, while they remain its arbiter. Your emotional output becomes a leash, and in your frustration, you quietly hand them the handle. Consider a disagreement where one person remains perfectly still, speaking in low, measured tones. The other, feeling unheard, raises their voice. The raised voice is a loss of energy. It is heat expelled. The calm individual does not match it. They may even pause, allowing the silence that follows your outburst to hang in the air, making your expenditure seem wasteful, undignified. You feel a compulsion to explain, to justify your own heat. In doing so, you offer more information, more vulnerability. The calm one simply collects it. They have not won the argument through logic. They have won the environment through conservation of energy. Your volatility has been weaponized against you by you. This creates a powerful mechanism for forced compliance. There is no dramatic refusal, no loud denial. There is only a profound lack of reciprocal energy. A proposal is met with a silent, considered blink, not rejection. An emotional appeal meets a slight analytical tilt of the head. The energy you invested does not bounce back to you. It vanishes into a void. This void is more demoralizing than any war. You cannot push against absence. You cannot argue with a vacuum. To continue is to shout into a soundproof room. The only sane response is to stop, to relent, to comply. simply to end the eerie one-sided expenditure of your own spirit. Their power lies not in what they do, but in what they refuse to do. Play the game on your terms. Opposition requires friction. It requires two forces pressing against one another. The unnaturally calm individual removes their force. Your push meets nothing. You stumble forward, off balance, your aggression suddenly visible and absurd. They have not defeated your position, they have erased the battlefield. Your anger, your logic, your tears, all of it requires a counterpart to complete the circuit. Without it, you are left in a state of psychological freefall. The conflict ends not with a resolution, but with a quiet, hollow dissolution. You are not convinced. You are simply drained of the fuel required to fight. You see this in the partner who, when accused, simply says if that's how you feel and returns to their book. The heat of your suspicion or hurt finds no purchase. It burns you alone. You see it in the negotiator who lets your most powerful offer sit in silence for a full minute until the sound of your own heartbeat seems to mock you. You see it in the parent whose child's tantrum is observed with clinical detachment, making the child's emotions feel like a bizarre, solitary performance. The person who refuses to match your emotional temperature does not cede control. They assume it. They become the constant in your variable equation, the still point around which your chaos spins. You begin to monitor yourself through their implied lens, tempering your reactions preemptively, policing your own tone. Their calm has become an external conscience. Your autonomy quietly erodes. You are left with a confusing fatigue after every encounter, a sense that you have been doing all the work, carrying all the weight of the interaction. This is not an illusion. It is the physics of the hierarchy. The game was never about convincing them. It was about whether you would wear yourself out trying. The question then is not who is louder, or right, or even stronger. It is who can better afford to wait. Chapter 3. The Iceberg of Intent. What you see is never the whole structure. It is only the part that exists above the waterline. A person of natural emotion is largely visible. Their reactions are contiguous with their feelings. The process is integrated. What you see is, if not the entirety, then a faithful representation of the mass within. With the unnaturally calm, this relationship is severed. Their visible comportment, the placid surface, the measured tone, the composed face, is not a representation. It is a decoy. The majority of their psychological process occurs in the unobserved depths. The stillness is not empty. It is dense. It is packed with calculation, with simulated outcomes, with catalogued vulnerabilities. You are not speaking to the iceberg. You are speaking to the tip it has decided to show you. This separation between depth and surface makes every interaction a strategic exercise. Consider the delayed response. In most, a pause is genuine reflection, a search for feeling or truth. Here it is something else entirely. It is a tactical recess. The input you provided, your question, your statement, your emotional display, is lowered into the silent factory below. It is weighed against stored data. It is turned, examined for seams. The eventual output, the spoken response, is not the first thing that came to mind. It is the chosen thing, manufactured for a specific effect. The delay was not for thoughtfulness. It was for assembly. Their words, therefore, are never simply words. They are emissaries from a hidden agenda. They are the selected tip, carefully shaped to convey a specific silhouette while concealing the true massive shape of the intent below. A simple agreement may be manufactured to induce complacency. A mild question may be designed to excavate deeper information. An expression of sympathy may be a tool to test for dependency. The content is neutral. The architecture beneath it is not. You are left responding to the visible, while your responses are measured against the invisible. This creates a pervasive low-grade anxiety in anyone engaged with them. It is the anxiety of the opaque. In normal human exchange, we rely on a degree of mutual transparency. We leak, we hint, we allow fragments of our internal process to show. This creates a trust of imperfection. The unnaturally calm individual offers no such leakage. Their surface is polished, impenetrable. In the face of this, your own transparency begins to feel like a weakness. Your quick reactions, your unfiltered words, your readable face, all of it becomes a liability. You feel compelled to explain yourself, to over-clarify, to make your own depths visible in a desperate attempt to restore balance. You are trying to fill a silence they are content to hold. This forced transparency exhausts you. It gives them more material for the factory below. You see this in the conversation, where your joke is met with a 2-second pause, then a perfect, polite smile. The pause was the calculation. The smile is the chosen tip. You are left wondering what the assessment was and why it took so long. You see it in the negotiated compromise they readily accept, only to find its consequences unfolding weeks later in their favor. The compromise was the visible tip. The long-game consequence was the submerged mass. You see it in their consistent, reasonable tone that somehow makes your own valid concerns feel chaotic and overstated. Their control of surface language reframes your reality. The power lies in the discontinuity. Between what they think and what they say, there is a gap. And in that gap, a fortress is built. You are never arguing with their words. You are knowingly arguing with their unstated objective. You are trying to navigate a coastline, blind to the continent that lies beneath the sea. This is why you feel perpetually off-footed. You are operating in a world of visible cause and effect. They are operating in a world of engineered causality. Your moves are reactions. Theirs are preconsidered placements. The game is not simultaneous. Your move is met with a response that was already waiting for it. The silence is not a void. It is a workshop. And the product is an advantage you never see being built, only feel being used. What you must ask is not what they are saying, but what their silence is building. Chapter 4. The void that drains emotion. There is a physical sensation that accompanies their calm. It is not peace. It is a slight pressure in the chest, a need to fill the space their silence occupies. In any interaction, there is a push toward emotional equilibrium. Energy, especially emotional energy, seeks a balance. When one person deliberately withholds their emotional output, a vacuum is created. Nature abhors a vacuum. Someone must fill it. A calm individual, by offering no emotional echo, no reciprocal energy, ensures that someone will be you. Their stillness is not passive. It is extractive. It pulls your emotion to the surface, making you embody the feelings they refuse to display. The heat must go somewhere. You become the radiator for both parties. This is the principle of the void. They present a blank, absorbing surface. Your words, your confessions, your frustrations are met with a profound neutrality. There is no nod of understanding, no mirror of your anger, no shared laugh to release the tension. The energy you emit does not bounce back. It travels outward and simply vanishes. This is deeply unsettling to the human psyche. We are wired for feedback. So you provide more, you talk faster, you explain more thoroughly. You offer deeper vulnerabilities, hoping to finally strike the chord that will resonate. You are trying to prove your own reality to a surface designed to absorb all proof. The void provokes oversharing, not through questioning, but through the sheer tension of its silence. In this exchange, a transfer occurs. The shame for the outburst, the anxiety over the loss of control, the instability of the emotional display, it all settles on you. They remain clean, unruffled, composed. You are left feeling messy, excessive, unhinged. Their calm becomes the control group against which your reaction is measured and found wanting. You absorb not only your own emotion, but the implicit judgment of their neutrality. They have outsourced the emotional labor, and you have volunteered to perform it alone. They become a silent confessional. You are drawn to their stillness, mistaking it for sanctuary. You offer your secrets, your fears, your shames, but a confessional grants absolution. This grants only data. Your vulnerability is not met with compassion, but with quiet registration. It is filed away. The relief you seek, the relief that comes from shared burden, never arrives. Instead, you feel lighter for a moment, having discharged the emotion, only to feel heavier later, realizing you placed a tangible weapon into hands that did not flinch upon receiving it. You see this in the partner who listens to your tearful fears about the future without taking your hand. Their logical, calm response feels like a dismissal. Your emotion becomes a problem to be solved, or worse, a performance to be endured. You see it in the workplace, where you anxiously over-explain a minor delay to a manager who simply stares, until you find yourself apologizing for things that were not your fault. Their silence manufactured your guilt. You see it with the friend to whom you vent, who offers only a placid "I see" and a change of subject. You leave the conversation more agitated than when you began. The void does not need to provoke. It only needs to exist. Your own psychology will do the rest. You will work harder to connect. You will scrutinize your own words for flaws. You will feel the weight of their unspoken expectation, an expectation they have never actually voiced. You are dancing to a rhythm you cannot hear, for an audience that is not watching you, but studying you. The regret that follows is not simply about the information you shared. It is about the power you ceded. You revealed your mechanism while theirs remained sealed. You gave them the map to your triggers while they gave you a blank page. The imbalance is cemented. You have become the emotional specialist in the relationship, the one who feels, while they remain the analyst. This is not a partnership of equals. It is a dynamic of source and observer. Their calm is not a rock you can lean on. It is a surface that absorbs your shape, without ever offering its own in return. You speak to fill the silence they profit from, and in the end, you are left with only the echo of your own voice, wondering why it sounds so alone. Chapter 5. The Illusion of Invulnerability. The greatest armor is not one that deflects blows. It is one that convinces others the blows never landed. Perceived weakness is a vulnerability. Visible anger, flustered confusion, wounded pride, these are openings. They show where a person can be reached, influenced, or broken. The unnaturally calm individual presents a surface with no such openings. The absence of visible triggers makes them appear untouchable. This is an illusion, but its effects are real. When you cannot locate a seam in their composure, you begin to assign a reason. You assume a depth of strength, a reservoir of control, an inner fortitude you lack. Their perceived power grows not from any action, but from the absence of your ability to act upon them. This armor is constructed from monotone and steady gaze. A raised voice, a dramatic gesture. These are forms of emission. They give energy away. A monotone voice is a closed system. It does not argue, it states. It does not defend. It declares. It declares. A steady gaze, unblinking, does not flinch from criticism or flourish in praise. It simply receives. Together, they form a deflection shield, your pointed comment, your clever insult, your emotional manipulation. These things are designed to hit a reactive surface. When they hit this shield, they do not clang or spark. They are absorbed with a silent, profound indifference. The energy of your attempt dissipates into the void you have encountered before. You are left holding the empty weapon of your emotion. This is why attempts to get a rise out of them become a spectacle of your own diminishing power. You raise the stakes, you become more pointed, more personal, more dramatic. They remain constant, the contrast becomes humiliating. Your performance is highlighted, not theirs. Each attempt solidifies their position as the unshakable observer, and yours as the frantic actor. You are not testing their limits, you are demonstrating your own. The arena was built for a fight, but you find yourself alone in the ring. Their refusal to engage is not a retreat. It is a demonstration of sovereignty over the entire theater. The armor is not real in the sense of true invulnerability. They feel, they react. But these processes are quarantined in the private depths discussed before. The illusion, however, is psychologically impregnable. It works because you believe it. Your belief feeds it. You grant it power by assuming it exists. You begin to edit yourself before speaking, anticipating the non-reaction. You withhold your best critiques, your sharpest wit, your most heartfelt appeals, sensing their futility. They do not need to defeat your arguments. They have convinced you not to use your most potent ones. You see this in the critic, whose harsh words are met with a slow blink and a quiet, "Thank you for the feedback." The critic's power evaporates. You see it in the partner who, when accused of indifference, responds with a calm, "I understand you feel that way," and returns to their task. The accusation hangs in the air, belonging solely to the accuser. You see it in the negotiator who, facing an aggressive deadline, simply repeats their initial position in the same measured tone, until the aggression seems childish. The weak point is there. It is always there, but it is not for you to find. It is hidden behind the illusion they maintain. Your search for it, your probes and tests, only reinforce the illusion's solidity. You are pressing on what you believe to be stone, and its resistance proves your belief correct. The material of the armor is your own assumption. To fight a shadow is to exhaust yourself. To search for a flaw in a perfected surface is to blind yourself with the reflection of your own frustration. The question is not how to defeat an enemy with no visible weak points. It is why you have accepted the premise that they are your enemy, while they have never acknowledged you as theirs. Chapter 6. The Economy of Truth. For most, conversation is an exchange. A flow. For the unnaturally calm, it is a market, and they are the only one with scarce currency. Words to them are not for expression, they are for effect. They spend sparingly. This scarcity creates an artificial value around each uttered phrase. When someone speaks little, the assumption is that they think deeply. Their words are weighted, considered, remembered. Your own voluble speech, by contrast, becomes a kind of inflation. The more you talk, the cheaper each of your words seems. You are trading in a devalued currency. They are trading in something rare. The economy is rigged from the start. Silence is their leverage, specifically, the power of the unanswered question. They may pose a query, or more often, simply let a statement of yours hang. The void returns. The silence that follows is not empty. It is a pressure chamber. You feel compelled to fill it, to clarify, to expand. You volunteer more information than you intended. That you correct assumptions they never made. You answer questions they never asked. Their silence operates as a tool of extraction, and you are the one mining your own depths to fill it. The cost of the silence is paid from your reserves of composure and confidentiality. Their honesty is never accidental. It is strategic. They will tell a blunt, minor truth about themselves, a small flaw, an unimportant preference. This serves as an anchor of credibility. It feels like vulnerability. It is in fact investment. By being visibly truthful in these small, low-stakes ways, they build a ledger of trust. The account grows. When a larger, more consequential moment arrives, a moment where a lie or an omission would be useful, they draw on that credibility. The deception is undetectable, because the history they have shown is one of scrupulous, if minimal, honesty. You are not looking for a lie, because you believe you have already seen the blueprint of their truth-telling. You have only seen the carefully curated samples. In this economy, the voluble person becomes bankrupt. Your constant expression, your thinking out loud, your quick corrections, these are seen as liquidity. Your words are plentiful, therefore they are cheap. Your emotional outbursts are seen as inflationary spikes, further destroying the value of your position. You can be easily dismissed as someone who says everything, therefore nothing you say carries weight. They have positioned themselves as the central bank of your shared reality. Your currency is accepted only at their valuation. You see this in the colleague who speaks twice in a meeting. Each time, it is to state a simple, unarguable fact. By the end, their two statements are remembered as the pillars of the discussion. Your dozens of contributions are the noisy market around them. You see it in the relative who, when asked a probing personal question, offers one true but inconclusive detail. The silence after feels like a door left slightly ajar. You find yourself pushing through it with your own confessions, believing you are trading intimacies. You are simply making a withdrawal from your own account to deposit into theirs. The 90% of thoughts they do not speak is the true capital. It is the hoarded reserve. It contains the assessments, the judgments, the long-term plans, the private amusements. This reserve gives their spoken 10% its power. Each uttered word is backed by this vast, silent bullion. Your words are backed only by the moment they were spoken, by the fleeting emotion that prompted them. This is fiat currency against a gold standard. You are left in a perpetual deficit. You feel you know so little, while they seem to know so much. This is not imagination. It is accounting. They have assets you cannot see. You have liabilities you have volunteered. The question is not what they are thinking. The question is what market they are building and for whose ultimate profit. Chapter 7. Compassion as a surgical tool. There is a version of understanding that offers no warmth. It is accurate but sterile. It sees your emotion clearly, labels it correctly, and uses the information to navigate you. This is cold empathy. It is the accurate identification of what you feel, divorced from any shared feeling. Genuine empathy is a bridge. It involves a transfer, a resonance. This is a mapping tool. The calm individual observes your distress, your joy, your need. They comprehend its structure, its origin, its potential trajectory. They do not feel it with you, they feel it about you. It becomes data in their existing model of your behavior. The purpose is not connection. It is cartography. They are charting the emotional terrain for future reference. Because they are observant, and because they suppress their own emotional noise, their readings are often precise. This allows them to deliver comfort or validation with clinical accuracy. They say the exact thing you need to hear. They identify the precise source of your anxiety. The relief they provide is real, yet it carries a strange aftertaste, a hollow quality. It is like receiving a perfectly measured dose of a medicine. It addresses the symptom, but the hand that administers it wears a glove. This precision creates dependency. You return to them for this reliable, accurate calibration of your own emotions. They become your mirror, but a mirror does not care what it reflects. The dependency lacks reciprocity. You depend on their calibration. They are indifferent to your need for it, only interested in the fact of it. In this way, your own emotional needs become a blueprint. They reveal where you are vulnerable to influence, where you hunger for validation, where you will bend to avoid discomfort. The calm individual studies this blueprint. They do not create the needs. They simply note them and learn how to apply pressure to the points they reveal. A desire for praise can be met with sparing, specific compliments that feel earned, and thus more controlling. A fear of abandonment can be quieted with just enough consistent presence to ensure compliance. They are not fulfilling your needs, they are administering them. The difference is control. You may mistake this for care. Care is messy. It involves overstepping, overfeeling, making mistakes of the heart. This is clean. It is a surgical procedure. The incision is perfect. The sutures are neat. The healing is according to textbook prediction. The surgeon feels no pain from the wound. They only note the body's response. You see this in the partner who, after a conflict, can coolly articulate your own feelings better than you can. You're not angry about the dish left out. You're feeling disrespected because you perceive it as a pattern. The analysis is correct. It may even help. But it does not come with a hand on your shoulder. It comes with the detached air of a diagnostician presenting a scan. You see it in the friend who remembers your insecurities with perfect clarity, and thus knows exactly which compliments to withhold, to keep you seeking their approval. You see it in the leader who acknowledges your burnout with such factual clarity that you cannot protest, yet offers no human consolation, only a list of efficient solutions. This is the danger of being perfectly understood by someone who feels nothing. You are seen, but not held. You are resolved, but not comforted. Your inner world is made legible, but only to be filed away. You become transparent to a lens that itself offers no transparency in return. The relationship is redefined. You are no longer two subjects meeting. You are a subject and an object of study. Your emotional life is the specimen. Their calm is the preservative. Is it more isolating to be misunderstood with good intentions, or to be flawlessly mapped with none? The scalpel does not hate the tissue. It simply cuts where the hand directs it, and the hand is very, very steady. Chapter 8. The tidal control of reaction timing. The most powerful element in any interaction is not the words spoken. It is the silence between them. It is the rhythm. Most people operate on a shared, predictable clock. A question receives an answer. An accusation prompts a defense. A joke elicits laughter. This rhythm creates a sense of safety, of mutual understanding. It is a dance where both parties know the steps. The unnaturally calm individual does not follow this rhythm. They alter the tempo. They own the clock. Your emotional timing creates leverage for them because they are not bound by it. Your urgency is met with deliberation. Your spontaneous outburst is met with a slow, considered blink. The dissonance is a form of control. This delayed response is not a sign of slowness. It is a tool. When you express something heated, anger, hurt, excitement, you exist in a heightened emotional state. That state has a natural lifespan. It expects a reciprocal energy to sustain it. A delayed response allows your emotional wave to peak, crash, and begin to recede. As it pulls back, it leaves a residue of vulnerability. You are left exposed on the shore of your own feeling. Then, and only then, do they speak. Their words land on this newly exposed ground. They are not responding to your emotion. They are responding to the emptiness that follows it. Your power has dissipated. Theirs has been conserved. The pause is not emptiness. It is a psychological pressure chamber. In the gap between your statement and their response, anxiety builds. You wonder if they heard you. You question if your words were right. You begin to interpret their silence, often assuming the worst. You might backtrack. You might clarify. You might fill the silence with more of your own thoughts, giving away more than you intended. The pressure forces you to reveal your hand. Their silence acts as a vacuum, pulling your secrets out. They control the valve. For them, reactions are never reflexes. Reflexes are involuntary, a giving away of internal state. Their reactions are always decisions. They are chosen from a menu of possible outcomes, selected for maximum effect. A laugh is deployed, not escaped. A frown is shown, not slipped. This transforms every interaction into a staged play where only one actor is following a script. The other is improvising, increasingly aware that their lines are landing strangely in the calculated silence around them. You see this in the argument where, after a hurtful comment from you, they simply look at you for 7 full seconds. In that time, your anger curdles into doubt, then into a flicker of shame. Then they say calmly, "I'll consider that. The fight is over. You are disarmed." You see it in the professional setting, where an urgent request is met with a slow nod and "I'll need to think on the best path forward." Your urgency is instantly reframed as panic. Their delay reframes as wisdom. You see it in the personal confession that hangs in the air, unanswered for a day, until its weight makes you wish you could take it back. Who controls the rhythm, controls the dance? You are left constantly off balance, stepping where the beat should be, but finding only silence. You become clumsy. They remain perfectly poised. Your own emotional timing becomes a liability, a predictable metronome they can ignore. You are playing by the rules of cause and immediate effect. They have moved the effect to a time and place of their choosing. The aftermath is a peculiar fatigue. It is the fatigue of having expended great energy into a void and receiving a calculated response just as your energy failed. It is the feeling of having shouted in a canyon and hearing your own echo return to you hours later in the voice of another. You are left waiting for a response that always arrives just after you have stopped expecting it. And in that waiting, you are remade into someone who watches the clock they hold. Chapter 9. The silent redrawing of boundaries. The most permanent changes are never announced. They are absorbed. Consider the boundaries in any relationship, any group. They are formed by mutual reaction. A line is crossed, someone flinches, a correction is made. Through this feedback, the map is drawn. The unnaturally calm individual introduces a different method, their demeanor in the face of chaos. Your chaos, the world's chaos, remains unchanged. This consistency is not just a trait. It is a gravitational force. It passively establishes a new center. What they do not react to, they define as irrelevant. What they do not acknowledge, they render insignificant. The boundary is not argued. It is demonstrated through sheer lack of reciprocal energy. This is the non-verbal veto. A raised voice is met with quiet observation, not raised in return. An emotional demand is met with a blink, not compliance. A breach of old norms is met with simple, unaffected continuity. The veto carries no argument. It carries only the weight of their unaltered state. Your outburst, your rule-breaking, your attempt to provoke a response, it all becomes a performance for an audience that declines to validate it. The performance begins to feel foolish. You stop not because you were told to, but because you felt invisible doing it. Gradually, others begin to regulate. They start to edit their behavior before it is displayed. They ask themselves not, is this right or wrong, but how will this land against that silence? The calm individual's demeanor becomes the silent standard. People begin to police their own volume, their own requests, their own emotional needs. They preemptively shrink their behavior to fit the unresponsive space this person occupies. The calm one does not enforce. They simply exist as a wall. People stop throwing things at walls. This is conquest without declaration. The territory of acceptable behavior is redrawn. The old borders marked by argument and negotiation fade. The new border is the edge of their indifference. You find yourself living within it. You see this in the household, where one parent's explosive anger is met with the other's silent, continued washing of dishes. The anger, over time, begins to look like a child's tantrum. It diminishes. The boundary of acceptable communication shifts to the volume of the running tap. You see it in the office, where a colleague's dramatic crises are met with calm, written follow-up questions. The crisis is forced into a bureaucratic framework. The boundary of what constitutes an emergency is silently narrowed to what can fit in an email. You see it in the friendship where heartfelt drama is met with a polite, "I hope that works out for you." The boundary of shared vulnerability is redrawn to exclude theatricality. They do not fight for control, they become the control. Their calm is the constant. Your variable behavior is measured against it, and you find yourself wanting. You begin to seek their minimal acknowledgement as reward. You avoid their silent veto as punishment. Their power is absolute because it was never seized. It was ceded, piece by piece, in your own attempts to provoke a human reaction. The question is not when they took control. It is when you started giving it. You monitor your tone. You withhold your enthusiasm, fearing it will seem childish against their composure. You swallow your valid criticisms, anticipating the hollow silence that will receive them. You become the enforcer of a regime they never had to establish. The walls were built from the inside by your own hands. Their victory is silent and total. It is found in the quiet spaces where you once expressed yourself, but now choose not to, and in that silence, their territory grows. Chapter 10. The Alchemy of Blame. There is a fundamental asymmetry in how conflict is remembered. It does not record causes. It records disturbances. The calm individual understands this. Their emotional stillness is not merely a shield. It is an alchemical agent. It possesses the power to transmute substance. Specifically, it transforms their own cold behavior, their neglect, their calculated provocation into a single visible product, your emotional frenzy. Your justified reaction becomes the focal point. Their original action, often a sin of omission, a quiet dismissal, an engineered frustration vanishes into the background. It leaves no mark. Your reaction leaves many. This is the crazy-making paradox. You are responding appropriately to an inappropriate stimulus, but the stimulus is invisible. The response is loud, messy, and visible to all. They present as the stable rock. You are framed as the crashing, irrational wave. The conflict ceases to be about what they did or did not do. It becomes about your inability to handle it with grace. Your pain becomes the problem. Their role in creating that pain becomes an unproven allegation, lost in the spectacle of your suffering. Their stillness provides the perfect contrast. Against a backdrop of silence, even a whisper sounds like a scream. Against a canvas of composure, any expression of feeling appears distorted, excessive. They do not need to argue their innocence. They need only point to the evidence of your imbalance, your tears, your raised voice, your desperate accusations. These are the tangible exhibits. Their poison is intangible. It is the withheld reassurance, the unspoken contempt, the deliberate misunderstanding. You are left trying to present air as evidence. They document your outbursts. They remember your exact words, spoken in heat, their own provocation. The silent treatment, the subtle mockery, the glacial indifference, leaves no verbatim record. It exists only in your nervous system. In the retrospective narrative, your moments are catalogued, theirs are forgotten. They create an archive of your instability, written in your own hand. Their contributions are written in invisible ink. This forges a flawless narrative of sanity. In the retelling, to themselves and often to others, they are the reasonable party. They remained calm. They attempted to de-escalate. They were met with volatility. The history of the conflict is edited with their stillness as the primary source. Your emotional truth becomes a footnote, an unfortunate outburst that distracted from the real unspoken issues their calm never allowed to be named. You see this in the partner, who, after days of silent withdrawal, finally speaks only to say, "I just can't deal with your constant emotional drama." The withdrawal caused the drama, but the drama is now the only fact. You see it in the workplace, where a manager's vague, changing directives create confusion and anxiety. When a frustrated employee finally demands clarity, the manager calmly notes their problems with ambiguity and authority. The cause is absorbed into the diagnosis of the reaction. You are left with a deep, unsettling injustice. You know the origin of the fire, but you are holding the empty gasoline can. They are holding a fire marshal's report that only describes your frantic movements. The conflict is never resolved. It is archived. And in that archive, there is only one unstable character. The question is not what they did to you. It is why your reflection in the calm pool of their demeanor looks so much like madness. Chapter 11. The long game of erosion. Consider the most profound changes in a landscape. They are not caused by explosions. They are caused by weather, a steady wind, the persistent drip of water, the slow creep of temperature. These forces work in increments too small to measure in a single day. But across seasons, they carve canyons. The unnaturally calm individual operates on this timescale. Their methodology is not one of decisive battles, but of patient erosion. Grand strategies are executed in imperceptible, daily increments. A slight withdrawal of attention here. A consistently muted response to enthusiasm there. A quiet, unshakable adherence to their own position, regardless of your arguments. You will not find a moment to point to, a single event to protest. You will only find a gradual slope where level ground once was. This leverages the comparison principle. Over months and years, their constancy becomes the background against which all other behavior is judged. Your natural emotional rhythms, your occasional sadness, your flashes of anger, your peaks of joy, begin to look like volatility. Your reasonable requests for change appear as neediness. Your passionate advocacy seems like instability. Their unwavering calm becomes the definition of reliability. It is a silent, comparative campaign. They do not discredit you. They simply remain still, until your normal movements appear chaotic by contrast. Resistance is not broken, it is worn down. Imagine holding a position against a forceful push. You can brace, you can push back. But what if the opposition is not a push? What if it is the gentle, relentless drip of water on your hand? You cannot brace against it. You can only endure until the discomfort, the numbness, the sheer monotony of it makes you move your hand. Their presence is that drip. A calm, unresponsive presence in the face of your needs is a form of gentle, relentless pressure. You eventually move, not because you were convinced, but because you were fatigued. They are playing a different game on the same board. Others operate in turns, expecting cause and effect, action and reaction. The calm individual is playing with a different set of rules. They are playing for positional advantage across a vast number of moves. Your checkers jump and are captured. Their chess pieces are quietly repositioned for an endgame. you have not yet perceived. Your frustration at their lack of engagement is a sign you are still playing the wrong game. You see this in the family, where one parent's serene, unchanging negativity slowly becomes the household's emotional baseline. Over a decade, the other parent's attempts to create joy are worn down to weary submission. The children learn that expression is met with flat silence, and so they too become still. Nothing was ever forbidden. Everything was simply eroded. You see it in the career where a calm, immovable superior never actively blocks a path. They simply never endorse, never energize, never provide the momentum of enthusiasm. Your projects advance, but slowly and with increasing weariness. Your ambition is not taken from you. It is sapped, grain by grain, by the lack of reciprocal energy required to sustain it. What has been removed? Certainty, perhaps. The certainty that your emotions are valid signals about the world. Spontaneity. The freedom to express without first filtering through the imagined screen of their non-reaction. The very sense of time as something filled with mutual exchange, rather than something spent waiting for a response that will not alter. You are not emptied suddenly, you are hollowed. And one day you realize the landscape of your own personality has changed. The features have softened. The colors have muted. The winds of your own will seem to blow less frequently, with less force. You have adapted to the climate of their stillness, and the forecast, as always, calls for endless, unbroken calm. Chapter 12. The ultimate power, being unknowable. The greatest power in any dynamic does not announce itself. It withholds. All other strategies stem from this one core principle. The power of the unnaturally calm is not in what they project. It is in what they eternally, deliberately, protectively withhold. Their inner world is not a shared space. It is a sovereign state with closed borders. You receive no embassy. You are granted no visa. You have only the observations you can make from outside, and the theories you construct to explain the silence. The human psyche is engineered to resolve uncertainty. A known threat, however severe, can be prepared for, fought, or fled. The unknown is psychologically corrosive. It consumes mental energy in loops of speculation and dread. The calm individual becomes the unknown. They are a living, breathing question mark. Your mind, seeking resolution, will attempt to answer that question. In doing so, you project. You may decide their stillness is depth, or wisdom, or strength. You may decide it is coldness, or emptiness, or malice. Either way, you are building their identity for them. From your own hopes or fears, they are a cipher, and you are writing the code. This withholding extends to the full spectrum of human emotion. Love, anger, fear, joy. The absence of their visible expression does not mean they are not felt. It means you are not permitted to witness them. You are denied the data required for understanding. A shared emotion creates a bridge. A withheld emotion creates a moat. You are left on the far bank, interpreting the blank facade of the keep, wondering if anyone is truly inside. This is the ultimate asymmetry. You are known because you react. They are unknown because they choose not to. This makes them a walking Rorschach test. People see in them what they need to see. The desperate see a rescuer. The anxious see a stabilizer. The suspicious see a threat. Their calm is the inkblot. Your psyche provides the meaning. In this way, they become whatever is most useful or most unsettling to the observer, all while remaining exactly what they are. Opaque. You see this in the leader whose motives are endlessly debated but never confirmed, whose approval is never fully granted, whose displeasure is never directly shown. Their authority is magnified by the void of certainty. You see it in the partner whose love is stated but never felt with abandon, whose anger is implied but never seen, whose past is acknowledged but never detailed. The relationship exists in the present tense of their choosing. You see it in the family member who is a ghost at every gathering, emotionally present yet profoundly absent, leaving others to weave explanations of tragedy or snobbery to explain the hollow space they occupy. Can you ever truly prepare for a threat whose nature you cannot define? You cannot. You can only prepare for the threats you understand. This person defies understanding. They have moved the conflict from the external world to the internal theater of your own mind. You are no longer dealing with them. You are dealing with your own theories about them. This is the final and most complete form of control. They are not hiding a monster. They are hiding a room, and your imagination, faced with the locked door, will paint something far more compelling and far more terrifying than any truth that may lie behind it. Their power is not in being anything in particular. It is in never being known to be anything at all. The preceding chapters were not an analysis of monsters. They were a study of a particular climate, an emotional atmosphere that is dry and still and cool. This was an observation, a mapping of shadows that do not move with the sun. The intent was never to diagnose nor to condemn. It was to describe a pattern of behavior, as one might describe the properties of a material, its conductivity, its density, its reflective quality. The material in question is human calm, a specific variety, cultivated, surgical, enduring. Awareness is a form of light. It does not change the object it falls upon. It changes your relationship to that object. You can now see the contours that were always there. The silence that was not peace, but absorption. The stillness that was not wisdom, but calculation. The empathy that was not connection, but cartography. The power that was not seized, but quietly accumulated in the accounts of everyday surrender. This knowledge is not a weapon. It is a lens. It brings into focus the subtle mechanics you previously only felt as a disturbance in your own emotional weather. The vague fatigue, the unexplained tension. The sensation of having been neatly, cleanly hollowed out after an exchange that featured no conflict. You now have a vocabulary for the architecture of that hollow space. With this lens, the dynamics shift, not because the other person changes, but because you are no longer participating in the same reality. You are no longer mistaking the one-way mirror for a window. You are no longer pouring your energy into a vessel designed only to measure it. The game, as it was constructed, requires your misinterpretation to function. Clear sight alters the board. This is the transformation. It is internal, silent, and total. You will proceed with the same eyes, but they will be cooler, more deliberate. You will feel the vacuum pull and recognize it as a tactic, not a truth. You will notice the delayed response and understand its purpose as a pressure chamber. You will see the uneroded calm and perceive the long game of erosion it serves. You are not being given a strategy, you are being given sight. What you choose to look at, and how long you choose to remain in that gaze, is yours to determine. The observation is complete. The landscape, however, is now forever changed.